Hi everyone, Dru with Dru Talks. So let's talk about what it's like to live in the golden age of America, according to Trump. The golden age means more war in the Middle East. Yes, more Iraqs, more Afghanistans, more conflict, more money going into the Department of War, more of our sons being sent over to die in the Middle East, killing somebody else's sons. That is what a golden age means. It does not mean peace. It means more war. Preventative war, of course, to stop war and make a lot of people rich. And what golden age would be complete without the continuation of the slaughter of the people of Ukraine and Gaza? Because that is definitely what MAGA voted for. They wanted the war in Ukraine to be continued to be funded, and they wanted Gaza wiped off the map. That is definitely the vibe I got when people went in to vote for President Trump, was let's keep funding all these proxy wars. And if you think that the golden age is going to mean prosperity, calm down. It actually means inflated healthcare and housing still, with Trump saying we have to keep the housing inflated to protect current homeowners. Right now in the U.S., the average age of a home buyer is 65 years old. The average age of a first-time home buyer is 41. People are not able to buy homes in their 20s anymore. They're not able to afford a trip to the ER. And those are just a symptom of the inflation problems. Those are probably the two worst areas. But we are struggling to pay for groceries. But yet this is a golden age. Now, some of you may say, yes, but we're getting deportations in our golden age. Calm down. We are getting theatrical ICE deportations. But if you look at the numbers, we're actually not doing very many deportations. Trump is not making massive deportation headway. But they sure want you to feel like, whether you're on the left or right, that this is happening en masse. It's not. It's just being done in a very dramatic fashion to get everyone feel like their side is doing something about this issue. And then I think the clincher on the whole thing is, in the golden age of America, we have more taxes. The income tax is still there, and the tariff tax has now been added. And I know everyone is making this cobweb of logic to say that tariffs are not a tax. They are. The consumers always pay the taxes. I'm a business owner. I am not paying more taxes on my product. If I have a sales tax, the consumer pays it. This is how it works. So the consumers are paying for the tariffs, and it is anti-free market to even have tariffs. We're supposed to have the market crossing borders. That is a sign of a healthy economy. It is unhealthy to have everything locked down. You want free trade with other nations because it builds goodwill with them. It is so much better than going over and bombing them into goodwill. And not only that, with the tariffs right now, and I don't know if this is the final court they go to, but the tariffs have been ruled by the courts recently to be illegal, which means that the taxpayers are probably going to have to reimburse all the companies where the tariffs were collected, which means we're paying more. Okay, so let's just recap here. Golden age of America, increased taxes, increased inflation. We're almost at 40 trillion in debt. Our dollar is absolutely destroyed. Good luck. Good luck for your grandkids on the dollar. We don't have any more deportations really happening, and which is something that MAGA really wanted. And Ukraine is still happening. Gaza is still happening. We are going into more wars. I don't know if I'm really loving the golden age of America. And I think the big cherry on top is the absolute betrayal over the Epstein list. Yes, they released the list, but it took like an act of God to get it out there, and they have done nothing but underplay it and redact it since then. they are still protecting the evil men on those emails and on those videos. And that to me is just repulsive. Like, if you're going to somehow justify what this means, like you're going to somehow say, oh, this was just salacious sex brothel stuff. No, there's so much more on the emails. This is how our ruling class is operating behind the scenes, and it's repulsive. Our forefathers left Europe because of behavior like this among royals and ruling classes. They did not come over here for us to continue to do the same things. I mean, it's the British royal family crap mixed up with our American ruling class. It's gross, and there needs to be public hangings over what is happening. People are getting away with, dare I say, murder. I don't know what it is. However, it is so easy to get discouraged about all this, but I had a moment this last week where I felt very encouraged, and it was over the Epstein stuff. So I'd assumed that they'd barely pass that vote to get the Epstein list released. And I actually went and looked online, and it was like almost everybody voted to release this list. And that is not because these are honorable men in government in DC. It's because the public pressure was so intense. And that tells me that they can be bullied, which is kind of a nice thought. If you are feeling discouraged because Trump is such a dud, I would encourage you to not quit when we are about to win. I know that sounds very Pollyanna-ish, but just hear me out. We own the media right now. This is the first time in human history there has not been a gatekeeper to get information out. Now, the problem that the Ron Paul libertarians had was we got excited about the movement and tried to change policy before we had the public behind us. And we were just hitting a brick wall every single time because we didn't have the public behind us. We have got to change the hearts of the public, and we have an opportunity like never before to do that. The older generation, the generation that is team red and blue, let's keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and think it's going to change, that generation is dying off. The younger generation, if we can stop them from getting marketed the slop of socialism, we have a real winning chance here, and we have the means to reach people. The Epstein file release, even though it's redacted, and that battle is not done yet. I think we are nowhere near seeing the end of what the fallout from the Epstein list is. They released those files because Americans were that furious. That is really good news. They are not brave. They are not strong men who carry all these ideologies. They really are kind of cowardly politicians, and you can get enough pressure on them to influence their votes. It is disheartening to see how many people go and vote for the party, they vote for Trump, and they say, oh, I saw all this media about the Doge stuff, he must be doing a good job. And they don't realize that all the Doge cuts have gone away. All the funding is the same. The taxes are just as bad as ever. Your kid's future doesn't look any better under Trump than it did under Biden. And that is 100% gospel truth. There is no reason people should think that way. And if they do, because we have given up and we're like, I'm going to buy a cabin in the mountains and hide away, then we are really doing our country a disservice. You have to get involved. You have to either Start a podcast, homeschool your kids, start a class in person for youth on economics. Be as proactive as the socialist machine is towards the youth. As the older generation, the generation that thinks FDR was just the bomb, as they kind of fade away, as these programs are revealed to be more and more and more inept, what you're going to see is we have a window of opportunity to actually make a difference. Trump failing was a good thing because people need to realize it's not about some billionaire hero that's going to come in and save us. We as people in our community, we have to respect individual rights. We have to just say, no, if you do not act like Thomas Massey, we are voting you out. And I don't care if it's a Democrat that gets in after you. If you are a Republican, you don't deserve to be there if you are not working that hard for the people. None of this wishy-washy $500 tax credit if you have kids. Yay, victory lap. I've changed the future. This Republican weak sauce stuff, it just needs to go away. There is only one party in Washington, and we just need to vote out every incumbent and keep switching them out until we get a wild card in there like Thomas Massey. So like, share, dislike, leave a comment. I guess my final thought is just the Epstein list. It disgusted me, it infuriated me, and it gave me hope because I just realized there's millions of us and there's only a few of them. So we need justice and we need to hold their feet to the fire. And if you give up now, I think you're giving up at the moment that we are on the cusp of actually winning. Hang in there. Listen to Ron Paul's podcast. He's still kicking in his 90s. And just thank God that you didn't start in the liberty movement at when he started, because that would have been a really long stretch. I've only been doing this for a little over 10 years and it can get discouraging. But I look at the kids and I'm like, we can win. Thanks, guys.